The database activity provides a tool for collaborative development for your students to build an information bank of their choice. A database is made up of fields and templates. The fields define the type of data to be stored, and templates control the visual layout of information. In this example, we'll look at how to build a database of film reviews. There are 3 steps to creating a database in Moodle, and you can fast forward to any of these steps by selecting the relevant chapter from the drop-down menu next to the navigation bar. To add a database, turn Editing on, and from the Add an Activity menu, select Database. Provide a name and description of the activity, and then select the general options. The available from and to dates stipulate when students can make contributions to the database, while the viewable dates specify how long students can view entries for. For example, you could allow your students to make contributions for a month, but allow your students to view those already added for the rest of the semester. Now in our example, we've asked our students to review 3 films, so the required number of student entries is 3, and students must submit 1 entry before they can view others. This encourages students to get started with their project rather than waiting to see what other groups have done first. It also encourages them to create original material rather than recycle the ideas of other groups. They'll be able to edit their entries as many times as they wish before the closing date. You can set a maximum number of entries if you wish, and you can also allow your students to comment on reviews made by others. If you check the Require Approval option, student entries will remain hidden until you approve them. This option is very useful as it allows you to adapt the databases in novel ways. For example, you could set up a database as an online journal and ask your students to make a weekly entry. As long as you never approve the entries, their blogs will remain private and never be available for others to see. Finally, you can allow posts to be rated and graded by selecting the options here. Now you just need to set the common module settings, which are available for every Moodle activity. As we've asked our students to review their films in groups, we can select the group mode here. Separate groups means that students can work together, but they won't be able to read the reviews of other groups, while visible groups means that they'll be able to see all entries. And lastly, you can choose whether to make your activity visible straight away or to keep it hidden until you finish setting up. When you're ready, click Save and Display to view the database setup page. After setting up your database, you'll need to add fields to create the basic structure. Each field determines what kind of information students can enter. You have the option of adding in a checkbox or a date field, a file field for uploading any file type, although for images it's better to include a picture field. Latitude and longitude enables entry of geographic locations. When students view this entry, they can opt to open the coordinate in Google Maps. The menu options create drop-down menus for your students to select from, and the number field allows them to enter negative or positive numbers or 0. Radio buttons are similar to a checkbox field, but students will only be able to select one option from the list, and the text field provides spaces for text up to 60 characters or over 60 characters with editing. You also have a URL option to allow students to enter a link to other resources. To create a field, select the desired field type from the drop-down menu, enter the field name and description, and then select the options for the specific field type. Now let's add a few more fields in the same way to complete our database structure. We'll add a date field for students to enter the release date, another text field to record the director's name, and a checkbox to indicate the genre. We'll also add a text area field so that students can enter their review, and we'll also ask them to rate the film using radio buttons labelled 1 to 5. We'll allow them to post links to other useful websites, and finally we'll let them upload a picture of the film poster or DVD cover. Once you have defined the fields in your database, you can begin editing the templates by clicking on the Templates tab. Creating the fields automatically produces 3 templates that enable you to control how the database appears to students. The Add template creates the interface form that the students will use when adding or editing database entries using the Add Entry tab. The List template controls the layout of entries when viewed using the View List tab, and the Single template controls the layout of a single entry viewed using the View Single tab. You may wish to edit these templates to improve their appearance. All templates behave in the same way. Let's start by viewing the Add template, and you'll see in the centre of your screen the template itself below an HTML editor. The elements of the template are laid out in a table. Tags, which are placeholders for data entered by your students, appear in the right-hand column, and their descriptors appear in the left. Let's click on the corresponding Add Entry tab to see how this template translates into the form the student will see. Immediately we can see that there are some improvements that can be made. For example, the descriptors on the left would look better if they were in bold and made a little larger. Let's return to the template and make some changes. You can change the descriptor text by deleting and typing directly in the table. And let's now highlight the descriptors and make them bold and increase the point size. Make sure you save your template before you switch to tab view to avoid losing your changes. Returning to the Add Entry tab, we can see that the changes have improved the appearance and the form now looks a little clearer. Let's add an entry so we can look at the list and single views. I'd like to review the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'll enter the date and the director name, and I'll choose the genre drama. I'll add in my review here, and I'll select a rating of 5. I'd like to include a link to the Internet Movie Database, so I'll copy and paste the URL in here. And finally, I'll browse for the JPEG of the film poster that I have saved on my desktop. Now if I save this entry, I'll be taken straight to the single view. Here you can see how your entry will appear for your students. You will also note that the descriptors on the left do not appear in bold as they did before. That's because we only edited the Add template. You'll need to make sure that you also format the list and single templates, as editing in one does not automatically update the others. Now thinking ahead to when there are several reviews in the database, it might be nice to see the name of the student who posted the review and the time that they last updated it. Let's now have a look at the single template and add in these options. On the left of the screen, you will see a list of available tags. The fields that you added in step 2 will appear in double brackets, and action buttons will appear in double hashes, such as the edit or delete buttons. Now the tags are laid out in the table, and to insert a space for a new tag, we need to click on the table itself and click on the arrow to add a row or column. To delete a row or column you don't want, click on the cross. Alternatively, you can click on the Enlarge Editor button and use the table toolbar to format as desired. If you're not sure what each button does, hover your cursor over each icon to display its function. When you've finished making your changes to the table, click the Minimize Editor button to add in your tags. Wherever your cursor is, the tag will appear when clicked. We'll add in a user tag and a time modified tag. Let's also change the colour of the genre to make it stand out. Now we'll save our changes and view the single form. This film review looks much clearer. We can see who added the review and when, and our formatting of the fields also applies to the text that the student enters.